Hello, and welcome back to Felony Spectator. I am your host, Heather. On today's episode, we're discussing the disappearance of Michael LeMaitre, who disappeared from Alaska on July 4th, 2012. And did you know that more people go missing in Alaska than anywhere else in the world? There are a few reasons why this could occur. For one, Alaska is huge. It has the most landmass of any state in the United States. It is equivalent to 12 New Yorks. Alaska has over 3,000 rivers and 3 million lakes. So there is a lot of places to hide. Alaska also has a huge wildlife population. There are one bear to every 21 people in Alaska. So a lot of people go missing and they're just never to be seen from again. And that brings us to the disappearance of Michael LeMaitre. Every year on the 4th of July, Seward, Alaska hosts the Mount Marathon race, which is a running race up the mountain that is only about 3 miles total. This course has a 3,022-foot vertical slope through cliffs and waterfalls, and sometimes it's icy or muddy. Even though it's short, it's a huge challenge. In the past, racers have broken bones, gotten lacerations, concussions, but nobody has gone missing before until 2012 when Michael disappeared on his way up the mountain. Michael LeMaitre was 62 years old and was said to be adventurous, and he loved the outdoors. He also loved to run marathons and had run many marathons in the past, and Mount Marathon was high on his bucket list. Finally, in 2012, he got an entry into the Mount Marathon race. This was the mountain's 85th year of running, and the race is really popular. So they use a lottery system to decide who can enter the race because there are just far too many people who enter. And this year, Michael entered and he got pulled in the lottery. So he was super excited to have this opportunity. The night before the race, it had rained. So the mountain was really kind of slippery and muddy, which made the course very difficult for even a lot of people who have run the race before. There was also still a lot of ice and snow that year, which again just made this course really hard. So at the beginning of the race, the announcer told the racers that if they had no experience on this mountain, that they needed to go home or pull themselves out of the race. And this wasn't a joke or something they said to intimidate people. The officials really don't want people on the mountain who have never been up there before. It was the racers' responsibility to train and familiarize themselves with the course before going up. And this was for their own safety and the safety of rescuers as well. And Michael had never actually ran this course before, so he technically should have forfeited the race, but apparently he felt that he would be fine. And he had just done a marathon the month before, so he was feeling really fit and was confident. And I'm sure there was hesitation, but with the lotto system, who knows when he'd get that opportunity again. The course isn't very long, and with so many different people, there's different heats that go up throughout the day. Michael's heat left around 3:15 p.m., which would make his group the last group to go up. It was said that Michael had fallen behind into last place very early on in the race, but he continued his way up the mountain slow and steady. Just before 6 p.m., his group would be pretty much done, and this would be the end of the race day. However, Michael would still be running the course at this time, and he'd only be about halfway done. He came upon an official near the top of the course who told Michael that the race was over and they were packing up. Michael asked if he could continue on his own as there was still plenty of light left. So the official agreed, and he took a photo of Michael of him smiling and seemingly happy, and they both went on their way. Once you reach the top of the mountain, the descent is supposed to be a little bit easier for some, but an organizer for the race had said that this particular year, there was more snow than usual, making the course extra difficult to navigate. Many people found themselves sliding down on their bums or crab walking down. At around 8 p.m., it was now foggy and it was getting really cold. So his wife had to make the decision to report Michael missing because he never made it back down. He was also only wearing light clothes, so she was worried that hypothermia would also be a concern. It is said that once you get to the top of the trail, there is also another trail that continues over to the other side of the mountain. Usually, an official would be at the top helping direct people, but everyone had gone home for the day. Now, the official who last saw him insisted that they were only about 150 to 200 feet from the top, and he claims to have informed Michael just to loop around the top rock once you go back down. The official who came in contact with Michael also said that he texted another official Michael's race number, 548. He would say that he estimated that it would take approximately 1 to 1.5 hours before racer 548 came down. Now, some experienced racers can make it down in only 10 minutes when the conditions are perfect. So giving Michael 1 to 1.5 hours was generous, but not unrealistic given the conditions. The race is usually busy with racers as well, so it's easy enough to follow people or stay in their tracks. But since the race was over and Michael was alone, anything could have happened. 2 other racers were hurt from falling down, and Michael's family worried that he too had fallen and needed help. One person had fell down a cliff and broke their legs, and another incurred severe head injuries. So needless to say, the terrain was brutal. Remember, Michael didn't have experience on this mountain, so tough terrain like this could really be deadly for him, and nobody was left on the mountain to help him. By 2 a.m., Alaska State Troopers were scanning the mountain with infrared scanners, but unfortunately they found nothing. The next morning, Alaska Air National Guard, which specializes in searching for crashed pilots and missing hikers, they arrived and they helicoptered around for another infrared scan of both sides of the mountain. Firefighters, police, and search dogs all tried their best to find Michael for days. Marianne, his daughter, would also fly into Seward, Alaska once she knew something was wrong, and she also went up the mountain herself for weeks over and over and over again to try and figure out what possibly could have happened to her dad. Family presumed that Michael had died of hypothermia or other injuries, but they couldn't find his body or clothes or anything that would indicate where he was. Now, nothing has been recovered even to this day. Even throughout snowmelt and other annual mountain races, not a single person has seen a single piece of evidence. Peggy, Michael's wife, tried suing the Seward Chamber of Commerce, saying the organization showed misconduct and neglect in its duty of care towards her husband. The lawsuit was originally for $5 million, but she eventually settled on only $20,000. She and her family decided to settle due to the fact that without a body being found, they couldn't prove he was dead or that it was the city's fault. It was basically an impossible case to win, so they felt forced to settle. There are some people, including the Chamber of Commerce, who think he's still alive and possibly planned his disappearance. Like, why did it take him 3 hours to go up the mountain? And why didn't he go down with the official when he knew the race was over? The mountain is also right by town. It's only 1.5 miles tall, and you can also see the mountain and the people coming down if you're in town, specifically near 6th or 7th Street. And people agree that he could have been injured, but it just seems almost impossible for someone to completely vanish. The official who saw him last said that when they saw Michael, he seemed totally fine. No signs of distress or red flags. All he needed to do was turn around and come back down. The Chamber of Commerce didn't want to take any responsibility of Michael's disappearance. They state that it was ultimately Michael's responsibility to be prepared, and he wasn't. The racers were instructed to know the terrain beforehand, but Michael went up the mountain anyways, even being warned not to. It was also said that he had bad vision problems as well, which gave him somewhat of a tunnel vision, meaning he would need to physically turn his head to see from side to side as well as up and down. So that could explain why he was so slow. If you can't really see your feet very well, it would make a race like this really difficult. To this day, remains of Michael have never been found, and he has since been pronounced dead. Sadly, the family have no answers and they have just been forced to move on. So, what do you think? I know the wilderness is no joke. Lots of bad things can happen. But when a race is put on by a company or city, isn't it their responsibility to make sure the racers make it across the finish line? It just seems weird that they left him behind alone. With that said, I guess they can't really force him to quit either. If he insisted that he wanted to finish on his own, then I guess that's on him. The rules now state that the racers must reach cutoff times. So racers must cross half the mountain within 1 hour of starting, and they must complete the race within 2.5 hours. Bring their own water and be prepared to get off the mountain on their own, even if they're injured, because there was no guarantee of assistance. And I can only imagine that there's probably waivers to sign as well. It's good that they changed the rules to make sure people can do the race in the set amount of time and to ask people to turn around who can't finish. It's really too bad that they didn't insist Michael turn around when he was taking so long. 3 hours is a long time to go up half the mountain when they expect the entire course to be done in 2.5 hours. And it is odd that nothing has shown up, not even a shoe or a piece of clothing, but stranger things have happened in Alaska. Maybe he fell down a crevasse or somewhere nobody can access. Or maybe he got dragged off by a bear, or maybe he did actually run off and start a new life. That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please hit subscribe and show me some support. We'll see you next week.